Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Izzy Howell and I'm joined by Managing Director and Creative Industry Expert Chris to talk all things video marketing. We are the father and daughter who run the video production company Howell Film, and each week we will be discussing all sorts like what happens behind the scenes on our projects, getting results from your video content, how to start using video in your business, and plenty more to come. We're always up for candidly conversing about creativity. On this episode, we are answering the question, do you really need TikTok or Reels? So without further ado, let's get started. And of course, never miss an episode every Tuesday by giving us a follow, subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Let's go.
Okay,
sorry, I know you were...
Before we started this podcast, I said, I'll ask the question, and you just completely ignored
sorry,
that.
I was in my flow.
So as a decrepit, aged sort of character that I am.
Yes.
So does business
Yes.
really need TikTok and Reels? Anybody under 25 or whatever in the room.
I'm quarter of a century old, so you know.
Yeah. So basically, okay, let's just cut to the chase. Please explain. Does business?
This is why you didn't answer that question.
Shall we cut this and go again?
Okay. Go for it.
So does business really need TikTok and Reels?
The answer is the famous two words that we're going to turn to a hashtag. It depends.
Right. Okay.
It really depends. So TikTok obviously has been around since 2016 when it started, but it really kind of took off and began to get the fame that it's got during the pandemic, during lockdown.
Yeah.
So what happened during lockdown? People couldn't leave their houses. People were essentially really, really bored. And it was used as a tool for people to kind of make fun, silly, creative, educational, just little videos, sketches, whatever it may be, in their houses using little to no budget, just themselves, you know, and it became kind of a platform where particularly the younger generation, so it was originally aimed at sort of teenagers onwards,
Sure.
That younger generation could create up to 1 minute, is now 3 minutes, but up to 1 minute videos that were just about literally anything. And the way it works is the moment you click the TikTok app, it will just start playing a random video made by someone with an account somewhere in the world, and you have no real control over what it is you're going to see. And what you do is you just scroll through the videos, and every time you scroll, a new video will appear. That new video, you can interact with it, you can like it, you can comment on it, you can save it, you can share it, you can do whatever you like with it, but you don't really have much control over what's being seen. It's pretty much it's like a scattergun of little videos that are thrown all over the world. But the TikTok algorithm is something that has been designed so TikTok will be almost watching you consuming video content. And say you like to watch a lot of, or it notices that you're sticking around or rewatching or interacting with videos related to mountain bikes. And then at that point, it'll pick up and go, this person loves mountain bikes. I'm going to make sure that their experience is tailored entirely around nice stuff around mountain bikes. So you'll get a lot more mountain bike videos.
So the more you use it, does it become increasingly less random?
Yeah, so the more you use it, you get a bit more control over what it is that you're seeing. You can follow people on it. So it's a bit like Instagram. It's a bit like LinkedIn, Facebook, any social media platform, in the sense that you can follow people and they can follow you. You can message them. You can interact with them. Yeah.
So, and also can you share what you've seen with others to get them narrowed in on that content that someone's produced?
You can share it. So there's things you can do on TikTok where you can actually interact with that original video. So say, for example, you watch a video about someone using a piece of camera equipment. You can then do something called stitching it. So you can almost take that video that person's made and then put your video on the end of their video with your comment or your reaction or something. So you can add to other people's videos if you'd want to. You can also duet videos. So your film plays alongside their film. So you can watch two films at once, and people do all sorts of creative stuff with that, like as if they're in the same video. And it's very, very creative how you interact with it.
And is it a platform that it's not the done thing to be overtly selling something, or is it more about what if you do choose to go on there to try and sell a product or service, that it needs to be so dynamic and interesting as a content filled thing that people go, oh, that's brilliant, that's clever, that's funny. It just so happens that clearly someone's trying to flog something to me.
Well, that's the key thing really, is that there are 4 characteristics of any social media content. So whether it's Reels, TikTok, posting, anything to do with social media, your post should either be entertaining, aspirational, actionable, or joinable.
Right.
So there's 4 types of content that you can create. So when you do have at your fingertips something like Instagram Reels, which essentially everything I've said applies to Instagram Reels as it does to TikTok, they're pretty much one and the same. Instagram pretty much Command-C copied the TikTok platform and incorporated it in Reels. I would argue that the Reels algorithm is a lot more advanced than the TikTok one. It does kind of pick up on different things, but if you are a business and you are wanting to kind of create content for it, as long as it's something that entertains your audience in some way and it's relevant to your offering, as long as it inspires people potentially to do something and get off their chairs and go off and make something or do something or join something, as long as it gives people a call to action, is a good one as well. So if it kind of gets you to respond to something or give your opinion or buy something or whatever it may be, or read something, and if it's joinable as well, if you're starting a community, hold that thought. So when you're a business and you're wanting to create content for Reels or TikTok, there's no point going in and doing the hard sell. Weirdly, having super high production values either isn't necessarily going to get you lots of kind of you're not going to immediately start seeing results straight away, because what it essentially is people, when they are watching Reels and TikTok, there is a weirdly an appreciation for the homemade, for the more creative, for the kind of, you're just doing this on the go. And what lots of businesses have tried to do is almost make their videos look more homemade to try and blend in with other people's, because when you're scrolling through all these videos and you see something coming in that is quite blatantly a hard sell advert, people might just go right past it because they know it's an advert and they know they're being sold to. So as long as your content is about something and teaching something to someone, or it's about kind of actioning someone to do something, but it's not kind of buy this right now, then you're in luck.
So it's not kind of, so it's not the platform to say we're selling this product for this price, buy it now. That's not that's about.
Because it's not really a sales platform necessarily. I mean, TikTok has expanded its offerings now, so you can buy stuff, so people will go live, a bit like QVC almost, and start selling products, and you can buy them there and then. But it's more a platform for people to be entertained, to be inspired, to be part of a community, and to learn something new, essentially. Okay. So it's not like, you don't just go on it to watch adverts.
Okay.
What? Is this blowing your mind?
Well, obviously I've got I wear 2 hats. I've kind of like, grumpy old middle-aged man hat, but then also the kind of like, MD of a film and media business, and it's my, what I'm not going to be is that person going, I don't get it, because clearly you've got to get it, because it's really important, and it means a lot to a lot of people, and there's something in it, and it just depends on which hat and I don't want to be like a complete Luddite, but I've got to, but also I've got to think about where I fit in, or more importantly, where our customers fit in, and I personally struggle with the kind of the angle a little bit as to why it would be of commercial interest to, probably wouldn't be, if I'm perfectly honest with you, probably wouldn't be of a commercial interest to a great deal of our clients, but I can instantly see the ones that have got visually appealing, easy to understand products and services. You could see how it would capture a certain
absolutely.
A certain clientele.
I think the key thing to remember with anything like this is that if you are a B2B business, Reels and TikTok can also work really well for you, because what you should be seeking to do with them, like I said, isn't necessarily going through the hard sell, but almost treating the platform a bit like your shop window. You want to show people, you want to showcase your business in different ways. So you might want to use Instagram Reels to give people advice, to talk about things that interest you, that might interest other people in your business community. You might sort of do a quick 10-second video on some great content tips for your blog or something like that, something that isn't necessarily going to stop people from buying from you, but will give people enough of an idea of, this person knows what they're talking about, or this person's creative, or this person's entertaining. It doesn't really matter.
But am I right in saying that you focus your attention with the clients that you support with their marketing output and the consultancy work you do, that you focus on them creating their own content, following your guidance and your rules on Reels and TikTok? Because as a professional film company, no one's going to employ us to make TikTok content, really.
I think
is it more about you saying, if you follow this process, you're more likely to get some positive results, because you understand how it works and you understand the audience, because as opposed to as a pure commercial venture saying, customers saying to us, can you make us this content, but by the way, it's got to look a bit homemade, and by the way, it's got to look a bit off on the fly, and by the way, we can't control who's going to see it and when they're going to see it and how they're going to see it.
And on paper, that sounds bizarre.
That sounds a bit bizarre to me.
But it is oddly incredibly powerful, because as we know, I mean, in terms of when we consult for video marketing, when we do any kind of education into video marketing, is that can range from doing a quick little TikTok on your iPhone all the way up to doing the advert for the halftime of the Super Bowl. Like, video marketing is almost, and it could have an endless budget depending on what you've got. But what it does is, and what it has been really effective in for people like us who work in video marketing, is it's really inspired people to understand what video marketing is. So a lot of businesses who may never have...
The power of the moving
Yeah,
image.
absolutely. Who may never have done any kind of video content work, or ever thought, God, I have to really be creative here. I have to do something. I have to be in front of a camera, actually, doing something quite fun and creative. It's a creative challenge that a lot of businesses have never had that challenge, or have ever had a reason to do that in the first place. So over the lockdown, in particular over the pandemic, we were seeing a lot more businesses thinking, right, well, I've got nothing to do today. I'm going to get my tripod up, I'm going to get my iPhone out, and I'm going to do a quick little video on tips for small businesses in my industry, or tips for people doing this, or a little funny video or a little sketch about something that happened. And it just basically challenged a lot of businesses to actually do what we do, is to think creatively, to start kind of looking at what their audience wants to see, to start really putting the emphasis on video. And yes, it's obviously, some people do get a lot of success out of them. They become almost viral, if you will, and they kind of take off and they get millions of views and stuff like that. But a majority of Instagram accounts have less than 10,000 followers. And really what it's about is about nurturing your current audience. And what we tend to find is people will go off and make their own reels, make their own TikToks and find success on them. But at that point they go, wow, I really understand how video works now, and now I need to invest in some professional production. So it's really, for us, it's a great stepping stone for businesses to use. It's a great space for businesses to use to learn how video works, because you can make a reel and the algorithm will it has certain pointers, so it'll pick up on, obviously your video has to have some kind of quality. It can't be upside down with your thumbs all over it. It has to be clear, have a good message, and be, it's got to be kind of clean as well. But within that, you will see that your reels might have hundreds of thousands of views, and you might go, I didn't really work that hard to get that, but look at what I've achieved. And it's a real boost for a lot of businesses.
And I suppose it's quite kind of like a brutal thing as well, isn't it? If people just
they can just ignore you.
Just ignore you, flick by
absolutely.
you. That you've got no, you're only as good as the second you're on the screen. And if someone watches you, then presumably, or watches your content, then presumably it's of interest.
Yeah.
Because there's so much of it out there that you're not gonna waste your time watching anything.
And there's billions of people on social media, and what you will find is you initially, when you make a reel, you might cast the net really wide and it might not work, or one might work and you might have thousands of views. And you think, okay, well, what did I do in that video that got thousands of views? And you'll think, oh, maybe it was a certain product I was showing. And that information could be really useful in video marketing. Or maybe it was a certain person or thing that was happening in here that people really liked. And over time, what tends to happen is it's a great way of uncovering that community. So you might have a real big community of people who love a certain product that you make, and you realize, actually, I've actually got an audience now. I've got people that I can talk to and that are wanting my content. So I need to start making more and be more targeted with it. And that's just really the process of video marketing. It gets the wheels turning, really.
So I suppose the return on effort from a commercial perspective is more of a slow burn. Mm-hmm. The irony is that you're doing something quick, off the cuff, quick to produce, quick to put out there, but the actual return on that is a bit of a slow burn because you're learning, you're understanding, and they're learning about you, they're learning about the product or the service or whatever, and they actually, over time, you start to build up a bit of a following or a community, as you say, or a broader understanding of what you're about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're not going to show up to a really big boardroom meeting or a massive networking event and sort of say, here's me in my dressing gown dancing around my living room. It's not really that kind of space. But what it is it's a space where you can celebrate different areas of your business that people might not be able to see right off the get-go. If you're showing that actually you're a business who has a sense of humor, and that can go a really long way, or you're a business who can do really fun creative transitions, that shows that you do a certain thing. Or it could be that you're celebrating something that you've done or showing how far you've come, or it could be you taking 10 seconds to give someone a couple of tips, quick tips for the day. As long as it's got some value to the people you want to see it, that is what it is. And it's the same for things like TV advertising. It's the same process, but instead it's you don't necessarily have a lot of data to start off with, but over time you gradually begin to understand what your audience wants. So when we first started making reels, I obviously, being in the video marketing industry, I realized I've got to actually figure out how this works. I can't just sort of sit back and let it just be a thing, because people were starting to ask us about it. So I started making reels for us, and some of them worked and some of them didn't work, but I don't know what that was. Maybe it was just that day. Maybe what I was putting out there wasn't really making sense. But that experience of dipping a toe in the water and going, okay, this did really well, this didn't do well, what's the difference? What should I do next? That process essentially it's almost like the embryonic stages of a strategy. So whenever we do any kind of creative content for businesses, professional content, advertising, whatever it may be, the first questions we're asking are, who's this for? What's your message? What do you want the result to be? And
what's your budget?
What's your budget? But within that, a lot of people go, oh, I don't know. But the people who've done reels, or the people who've gone through TikTok and done that content, essentially have got an awareness of, oh, well, I have a community of people that really like this, or I've got this product and this worked really well, or I've had some practice on the camera and I'm a bit more confident now. And those kind of sort of little things start to grow and grow and grow, and it's brilliant. I love it.
I think there's a danger, isn't there, that you do get like the fear of the unknown, and you do so therefore you dismiss it. You go, oh, well, no, that's not for me. That's rubbish. That's and actually the way that you've just spoken about that passionately there, and you've really demonstrated that there's real value. There's which is not it's not a throwaway thing that you can all the time you can capture any sort of information. You can learn it. That's immensely powerful for any organisation or individual within an organisation.
Yeah,
so I think it's it's something that I'm definitely gonna learn more about because
And data is essential, and research. Like, I know it sounds really strange, but I'll spend at least 10 minutes a day looking at TikTok or looking at Instagram Reels. It ends up being more than that because you end up just going in a black hole and scrolling never-endingly. Yeah. But within that, what's really good to know is what the trends are at the minute. What music are people using? What information are people talking about? What audio is popular? Like, what's new? What's going on? And often if you keep up with those trends and you try and make them into your own business, then, you know, that can definitely have an impact. And there are ways and means of doing that. Obviously, that would require a bit more of a strategy. It would require someone like me coming to help you work out that strategy. So I'm not going to give it all away, but but it's as a platform, it's definitely something that all businesses should be doing, and it's definitely something that we do, and that, you know, even though we do provide high-end video production and TV advertising, we are always encouraging people to give it a go and do it themselves.
Excellent. And you are always available, mostly, to talk to people about this and get in contact with you and actually, you know,
pick the brains. Yeah,
Love
absolutely. Okay. So right. I feel like you led that one, so you need to have a question for me, but you haven't. You're in the hostess's chair.
I'm in the host's chair today. Okay, so a question for you.
Yes.
Is it better to produce quantity or quality in your video marketing?
It depends.
Oh, no.
Okay. Do you mean for things like Reels or just generally?
So just generally speaking. So we've got clients that say, you know, we've got a budget. Everyone's working on a budget. You know, we're not going to be naive to think that you've just got a blank check to do whatever you want to do. So client says we've got this budget. Do you say, well, you can have one Hollywood style super duper mega advert, or do you say you can have 9 million reels or something in between? What's the, you know, in your experience, is it a case of just striking a balance and saying, are we back to what's important for their customer, not for them?
Yeah.
I think, what's your take on that?
It is entirely down to timeline. And the first thing that I'll say with any kind of video marketing strategy is, what is your timeline? How long do you want this campaign to last? A lot of people think because social media is an infinite thing that just keeps going and going and going and going, and reels will keep going and going, that you will post something and then you'll move on to the next thing and then the next thing and then the next thing, and it keeps going. But you should, within that infinite loop, infinite kind of constant thing, you should have little campaigns that you follow, that you just stick to, and in that little campaign you will do a certain thing, you'll talk about a certain product, you'll have a certain angle, and you build that campaign and you really kind of draw attention to it. So for me, what I think it would be is entirely focused on a timeline. If you want to have this campaign or this product, you want to talk about it for 6 months, then you'll want enough content to last 6 months. You don't just want one really good film and then
that you play every day.
Yeah, that you play on a loop for 6 months. But if it's to last a week, then great. If it's to last a day, then okay. It just depends entirely on how long you want the campaign to last, and within that, it's how you keep that conversation going. So, I mean, there's no point having one incredible, below the budget, beautiful film that you're going to play once, drum up loads and loads and loads of traction, and then go back to making upside down films with your thumb over the lens the next week. Like, consistency in a consistency in a timeline is more effective, I think, than production in that respect.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was very highbrow, wasn't it?
That was very highbrow. It's
well, thanks for coming to my seminar. That was
brilliant.
Well, thank you. Well, that was So that was it really for this week.
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
I felt like I learned a lot.
Yeah, that was. Thank you. That was good. Anything for Pedant's Corner?
No, I'm literally I'm devoid of pedantry.
We had one trip to Pedant's Corner, and since then
I promise for the next episode, I'm gonna.
Oh, I've got one for you.
Fully gone then.
Okay, I'm going to push you into Pedant's Corner.
Okay, go on.
Which is, how does someone know when a bit of text is centered? Not scented, centered.
It smells real good. How does someone know?
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what, if they're producing some content.
Yeah, because I see stuff and I'm thinking, that's not centered.
Maths.
Oh,
it's
no.
All maths. People these days. Maths, you know, if it's 1,000 pixel wide, and you want to center it, whack a guide at 500 pixels, and you will have the center point.
Interesting.
And I've got a theory on all things to do with centering, justification. Yeah. There's no grey area. It is scented or it isn't scented.
Yeah. See, after working with you for some years, I've started to know when things aren't scented.
Yes.
So that's...
And also that you can do stuff by eye. And if you're good, you get it more or less right. But get your calculator out. Not that you need to get your calculator out for, half of 1,000. But my point is that there's a beauty in the maths in design. Like the way that things are laid out.
It's like engineering, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
really?
it's kind of like the structure of design and the knowing. Again, it's just get it right, straight down the middle.
Straight down the middle. That's interesting. That.
Or go for scented and make it smell nice.
Yeah, lavender scented, please.
Yes. Right. Anyway, it's a long one.
Cool. So without further ado, I'm going to end this podcast. So thank you for listening again this week. And if you are enjoying this, please leave us a review wherever you can. Give us a follow or subscribe. Or if you've got a question for us to answer, please drop us a line and we'll answer it as best as we can. Thank you for that. That was very useful. And if you are making any TikToks or Reels, please let us know and let us know how it goes. You can find Howell Film on www.howellfilm.co.uk and you can listen to this obviously wherever you get your podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn too. So we'll see you next week. Have a great week and goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.